American Red Cross. We were talking about the shelter scenario, looking back on how things worked. What came out of that is something you said, okay, look, this is something we definitely got to change going forward. I know you talked about pre-positioning and whatnot, but based upon the Harvey disaster, what kinds of things you say, okay, look, that's what we really got to change that?
Well, I'll start with one thing, and that is we have partnerships with different shelters, and each one could be a different partnership. There are partnerships with shelters where the Red Cross comes in and does everything. We provide the cots and the blankets and the food and the manpower, those volunteers that really run our organization. They'll come in and do everything. And then we have shelter agreements where the shelter itself may want us to just come in and provide cots and blankets, and they'll handle the food. And then we have shelter agreements where they'll run everything, the shelter will run everything on their own for a few days, and we'll come in 3 or 4 days after and then help consolidate to other shelters. And a lot of times people are not aware or remembering that shelter agreement and have an expectation that we're going to be manning a shelter where we really weren't originally planning to do that. So I think having a better understanding and everyone fully aware of what our role is with the sheltering is one thing we'll start with.
There was one point that happened. I know that the American Red Cross, the word went out that the people could get $400 as a check. That didn't work too well. The system crashed. Was there the communication wrong? The system just couldn't handle it? What happened with that?
You know, it was an innovative and new process. First time ever us trying something like this. We wanted to get money into the hands of people very quickly because we knew they were hurting, and they were in our shelters and they needed to buy gas and food and other things just to sustain life. So we tried something new for the first time, and there was definitely some glitches in that. The system could not handle the load. You know, it crashed our systems and it crashed our redundant systems. So we had to recalibrate and go back and move into try to find bigger servers. I think part of the failure was our communications. We didn't let the public know how severe the technological issues we were facing with this. And now that the system is back up, we have had hundreds of thousands of people apply. And so we're working through that process. As a matter of fact, we've put out $142 million into people's pockets, and we've served 356,000 households so far today. So that is still happening. We're still taking applications. That'll happen through October the 10th. Some people are being denied, but it might be an area where we don't have enough information to verify that. So if they link into the appeals process, we'll have somebody speak with them, and that denial could turn into an approval.
We have a Newsmakers extra segment we're going to do. I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about that process, but I do want to get to the telethons that happen. Whenever there's a big event, a disaster, we have telethons all over the country. We had one here at KPRC Channel 2 where we were asking people to donate, saying that their 91 cents of every dollar goes to local relief efforts here. That's your lifeline in a lot of ways, isn't it? The donations from individuals to the American Red Cross. How important is it that the money that we say is going locally stays locally and that people have information about where that money is going?
Well, every year we are audited by multiple agencies, both audit companies as well as there's a couple of different audits we do that are available for everyone to see from a national perspective. I can tell you from the local perspective, I was born and raised here. My neighbors, my family were impacted by this storm. I am personally going to be making sure that our national organization is doing what they've said they're going to do. It's important for me, it's important for the organization to make sure that we're spending the money in the right way. The one thing, going back to the $400 assistance program, the one thing that gives me comfort is even though it has had some challenges, and I've been frustrated with it just like my neighbors and your neighbors have been frustrated with it, but the intent is so good on this program. The intent was to do something that's never been done before, to get money into people's hands faster than the Red Cross has ever got money into people's hands. It didn't work out initially, but the intent was good. So I feel good about the intent of how the money's being spent, but we will definitely be watching and providing information on how it's spent.
Has the Red Cross, I know the methodology may have been new, but has the Red Cross done the $400 before, or is that all brand new as well?
This is brand new. this is brand new. We would normally do a traditional casework model where people would come to a multi-agency resource center, they'd sit down with a caseworker, they'd talk to them about their individual needs, and we would issue assistance based on verified need or verified loss. This, we had no requirements for need or loss, with the exception of you've been displaced from your home or you have an emergency need. And we asked, 3 simple questions, and you gave us your phone number, your address, and you were approved or denied based on that criteria.
There was a lot of angst from a lot of people who said, I'm not getting through, I've been denied, and all that sort of thing. How much of that do you think is a product of the process not working, and or a combination of the process not working and the expectations of what people think of when they think of the American Red Cross?
Well, I think it's both of those things, and rightfully so. I think there is an expectation of the Red Cross probably doing a lot more in people's minds than what our role is in the community, and that's understandable. But I think there's also lots of frustration. This storm created chaos and frustration for everybody. We all feel it. There's a collective sense of that in our community throughout Texas, the people impacted. So I think it's a combination of those things, and I don't blame people for feeling the way they do. I feel good about what we're doing in terms of getting money to people and serving the mission. We haven't even talked about the over 3 million meals we've served, over 400,000 shelter nights that we've done here through this week alone. We haven't talked about those things, and those are tremendously important to the recovery process as well.
And we will talk about that in Newsmakers Extra, because I did want to let people know we want to make sure we get to those topics. It's very important. But David Brady, Charles Blake, thank you so much for coming in and being a part of this. I want you to go to Newsmakers Extra for additional conversation, and that's on click2houston.com. Go to the Newsmakers.